So in your last lecture, we have been seeing the basic concepts related with the metabolism. We have seen the molecules which are involved in transfer or transmission of energy from one kind of reaction to another kind of reactions. And similar basic concepts we have seen. We have seen the ATPs. We have seen the role of ATP in metabolism, the role of NADs, the role of NADPs, NADH2s, FADH2s, and all that thing. Now, the next thing is the actual metabolic patterns the organisms usually follow. So when we talk about the metabolic patterns, basically in living beings, we'll first focus on catabolic reactions, and in that too, the energy generating metabolic reactions we'll be focusing. So basically, when our organism obtains the sugar as a part of its diet, or in some cases, as we see, in case of photosynthetic organisms, we usually see that photosynthetic organisms, they synthesize their own sugar molecules like glucose and fructose and other things. Or in case of heterotrophic organisms also, heterotrophs, they obtain their energy through their diet, whatever the things they eat. So basically, they take up the different kinds of sugar molecules. Now, when these sugar molecules, they are broken down or catabolized, they result in yielding a lot of energy which is required by the cell. Now, these things, they could be carried out in three different ways. There is aerobic respiration, there is anaerobic respiration, and there are fermentation reactions which may be utilized or which may be used to catabolize these sugar molecules which the cell has taken up during its metabolic activities. Now, first, we'll be focusing on the aerobic respiration. Now, aerobic respiration is considered as the most efficient way to extract the energy from glucose molecule. Basically, when we are starting with the energy-yielding pathways in biochemistry, we'll be mostly focusing on catabolic reactions occurring in case of glucose. So, aerobic respiration being the most efficient way or efficient method of catabolizing glucose molecules to extract maximum amount of energy from glucose. Since we say that glucose is the most energy-rich source for us, for all the living beings, actually, these are the pathways which extract more amount of energy from glucose. The process involved here actually utilizes three different modes or three different pathways to extract energy from this glucose molecule. One is referred to as the glycolysis. Another pathway or another set of reactions involved is collectively referred to as the Calvin cycle or Krebs cycle. And third one is the electron transport chain. So when a glucose molecule enters inside the cell, it will first undergo glycolysis. Then the products of glycolysis will enter the Krebs cycle. Then the resultants will enter into the electron transport chain. And as a result, the glucose molecule will be completely exhausted. It will be converted to carbon dioxide and water. And meanwhile, tremendous amount of energy will be generated after completion of all these three pathways. Now, first we'll be focusing on the glycolysis. Afterwards, we'll see the Krebs cycle and the electron transport chain also. What is the glycolysis then? As the term suggests, glycolysis. If you break this term, glycolysis, glyco means sugar or glucose, and lysis means breakdown. So basically, literally meaning of glycolysis would be to break down the sugar or to break down the glucose molecule. Now, there are several different pathways adopted by different microorganisms, different living beings to break down this glucose molecule. One by one, we'll be seeing those pathways also. So most common one is the pathway which involves partial breakdown of glucose to pyruvic acid, which results in generation of two molecules of NADH and two molecules of ATP. Now, when we talk about glycolysis, different organisms have their own sets of pathways. Now, first of all, what is a pathway? A pathway is a set of reaction carried out by living beings to metabolize a particular substrate molecule. If we are talking about glucose, so pathway to metabolize glucose will be set of reaction. There may be 10 reactions, there may be 5 reactions, there may be 20 reactions which occur in the form of a cascade, means one after other reaction. Glucose is taken up, it will be converted to something, X molecule, that X molecule will be converted to Z, to Y, like this. And the end product, pyruvic acid, will be formed. So this set of reaction which occurs sequentially one after another is referred to as a biochemical pathway. So when we say glycolysis, so basically glycolysis occurs via mainly via four major pathways. There are four major pathways occurring during this glycolysis. Now, what these pathways are, if we see, first and the most popular pathway is this Embden-Meyerhof-Parnas pathway. Now, what is this Embden, this Meyerhof, and this Parnas? These are the name of biochemists or the scientists who have worked and who have discovered and elaborated that this kind of reaction, this set of reaction occurs inside a cell. And this pathway, this set of metabolism is named after the name of those three biochemists, Embden, Meyerhof, and Parnas. In short, this Embden, Meyerhof, and Parnas pathway is also referred to as the EMP pathway. Now, most of the times when you talk about glycolysis, means if you search a general biochemistry book or if you search the internet, if you put the term glycolysis in your browser search engine, you will get this EMP pathway only, because this is the most popular pathway adopted by most of the organisms. You can say almost all the organisms, irrespective of the type of the cell or kind of the organism, EMP pathway is found. There are very few exceptions where EMP pathway is not adopted by an organism. So basically, EMP pathway is referred to as the classic glycolytic pathway. Apart from this, under certain conditions, microorganisms do adopt other pathways or other set of reactions. These include the HMP pathway, or it is also referred to as the hexose monophosphate pathway. Again, this pathway is also found in many organisms and is adopted for the sake of biosynthetic requirements. EMP pathway will be mostly followed in case of fulfilling the requirements for the energy by the cell. Whereas we have also said that one of the need of metabolism is to provide the raw material for biosynthesis. Means if our organism is living, it must synthesize the nucleic acids, it must synthesize the proteins, and for that synthesis, it will require certain raw material for that. For example, say if the cell has to synthesize new nucleic acid, be it RNA or DNA, what it will be requiring? It will be requiring ribose sugar. It will be requiring deoxyribose sugar. From where these sugars will be provided? These sugars are provided through these pathways. So HMP pathway is mainly responsible for synthesis of pentose sugars, which are used in nucleotide biosynthesis inside that particular living organism. Apart from this, the third pathway, which is followed by the organisms, is Entner-Doudoroff pathway, or in short, it is referred to as ED pathway. Now, this pathway is restricted to a particular group of organisms only. It is usually found in Pseudomonas and some of the related genera, which are associated or somehow related with the Pseudomonas. In detail, we'll see when we study this particular pathway. ED pathway is not found in all the organisms. There is a restricted group. Apart from that, the fourth pathway is phosphoketolase pathway. Now again, this pathway is found in limited type of organisms. Like there are only two genus, Bifidobacterium and Leuconostoc, in which this phosphoketolase pathway is found being operative. Okay, so basically we have to study four pathways during this coursework. Apart from this, there are other pathways also, but during this coursework, we are going to study these four pathways: the EMP pathway, the HMP pathway, the ED pathway, and the phosphoketolase pathway. Now, we'll see first have an overlook on how these pathways operate. Okay, and later on we will compare all the four pathways, and then we'll see all the pathways in detail one by one. First, the EMP pathways, the Embden-Meyerhoff-Parnas pathway. The glucose is taken up by the cell. It is through a set of reactions. Now here we are only showing three major reactions during this particular pathway: glucose to glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate, and then glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate to pyruvic acid. But in actuality, the EMP pathway has many more reactions. That thing will be studying later on in detail, all those reactions. So what happens? What we have said, that glucose molecule, when it enters EMP pathway, two molecules of ATP are generated. Okay, so this particular pathway EMP is divided in two phases: preparatory phase and energy generating phase. So here you would see that when this glucose enters in the pathway, it is converted to glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate. Now, during all these reactions, two molecules of ATP are being converted to two molecules of ADP. Means energy is actually being consumed during this reaction. And what we are saying, EMP pathway is an energy generating pathway. But when you see this first set of reactions, they are consuming the energy. So in any pathway, these reactions will be referred to as the preparatory phase. Remember one thing, that for any sugar molecule to enter into an energy generating pathway, it needs to be first phosphorylated. Okay, means one phosphorus group has to be attached to that sugar molecule. As you see here, this glucose is being converted to glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate. Two molecules of glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate are being formed from one molecule of glucose. Basically, glucose is a 6-carbon compound. Glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate is a 3-carbon compound. Okay, so basically what is happening, glucose is being splitted in two molecules of glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate. Glucose is a 6-carbon and glyceraldehyde is a 3-carbon compound. Okay, so for this purpose, glucose needs to be phosphorylated since we have this glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate, means at the carbon number 3 of the glyceraldehyde molecule, there will be a phosphorus group attached. And we have two molecules of this glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate, means two molecules of phosphorus have been attached to this glyceraldehyde. So two ATPs will be consumed, they will be converted to ADP, and whatever the inorganic phosphate is removed from the ATP, it is coupled with the glucose, and resultant glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate molecules will be formed. Now, these glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate molecules, they further undergo a set of about, say, 4 to 5 reactions, and then they are converted to pyruvic acid. And during this phase, 4 molecules of ADP are converted to 4 molecules of ATP. Means, if you see the entire pathway, actually the pathway is generating 4 molecules of ATP. But if in previous slide, what we have said, this pathway generates 2 molecules of ATP. Why we have said that? Because although 4 ATPs are being generated at this position, but if you see the net ATP generation of the pathway, what is happening? 4 ATPs are generated here, but at the beginning only 2 ATPs were consumed. So net generation, how would you calculate? The ATPs produced minus the ATPs consumed during the pathway. So 4 minus 2, resultant net ATP generation in this EMP pathway is only 2 ATP molecules. And apart from that, this pathway will also generate the reducing power for the cell. Means 2 molecules of NAD are converted to 2 molecules of NADH2s. This reducing power may be utilized in biosynthetic reaction, or it may enter RETC, and there it could be converted to ATP molecules again. So one NAD molecule is equal to 2 ATP molecules. Mean when this one NADH2 enters the RETC, respiratory electron transport chain, it results in formation of 2 molecules of ATPs. Okay. So if this enters in RETC, it will give again 4 molecules of ATP. So basically, the result of this EMP pathway would be 6 molecules of ATPs. How? 2 net ATPs are generated here, and if this NADH2 is not utilized in biosynthesis, it is going to produce 4 more ATPs via RETC. Okay. In this way, we say that this EMP pathway operates. Next, apart from this EMP pathway, the next pathway which organisms follow is hexose monophosphate pathway. Again, the substrate here is glucose molecule, which is converted to phosphogluconate. This phosphogluconate is then converted to one 5-carbon compound, that is ribose, one 4-carbon compound, one 7-carbon compound, heptulose, one 6-carbon compound, and one 3-carbon compound, erythrose. Now, there are certain isomerization reaction taking place in this pathway, but basically the main yield of this pathway would be this 5-carbon compound. This would be ribose 5-phosphate molecule. Now, why this ribose 5-phosphate is important? If you remember in your previous slide, we have said that hexose monophosphate pathway is operative for the sake of provision of pentose sugars required during the biosynthesis of nucleotides. Okay, we say in RNA there is ribose sugar, in DNA there is deoxyribose sugar. For both the things, you will require, the cell will require this 5-carbon compound. This is actually ribose 5-phosphate. You will see that in detail when we study this particular pathway. So this pathway provides for this ribose 5-phosphate molecule for biosynthesis of nucleotides. Apart from this ribose, there are many intermediates which may be utilized for other pathways also, for other biosynthetic reactions also. But if suppose the cell is not carrying out synthesis of DNA, say the cell has started with this particular HMP pathway and it no longer requires ribose sugar. So what is going to happen? Whether the glucose utilized here will be wasted? No. This pathway do also have provision that if this is not utilized by the biosynthetic reactions, in that case, it will further continue and adopt the reactions of EMP pathway and will convert the leftovers to pyruvic acid, NADH2s, and ATPs. Okay, so means this particular HMP pathway, it provides for the biosynthetic precursors as well as it also provides for the energy of the cell. No doubt that if both the things are operative at the same time, what is going to happen? Lesser amount of energy will be generated as compared to EMP pathway, but the pathway is still efficient enough. It completely utilizes the glucose molecule for the betterment of the cell. So this was your HMP pathway, hexose monophosphate pathway. Next, the ED pathway or Itner-Dodrov's pathway. As we have seen, it is operative only in case of pseudomonads and the related genera of microorganisms. It is not found in other organisms apart from pseudomonads and those related genera. So here, in this particular pathway also you see that glucose is converted to phosphogluconate. Then this phosphogluconate is converted to glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate and pyruvic acid, and later this glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate enters the pyruvic acid, this EMP pathway, and is converted to pyruvic acid, NADH2s, and ATPs. Okay. Then the last, the phosphoketolase pathway. Again, you see that this phosphoketolase pathway is operative in only this bifidobacterium and leuconostoc. Other organisms do not carry or do not have the necessary enzymes for this phosphoketolase pathway. Now, what this phosphoketolase pathway is, it starts with glucose, phosphogluconate, 5-carbon intermediates, and carbon dioxide is exhausted here. It is converted to glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate and acetyl-CoA. This glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate is converted to pyruvic acid, NADH2, and ATP. Again, this molecule of acetyl-CoA is also an energy-rich compound. If you remember, in your last lecture, we have seen the energy-rich compounds like ATPs, GTPs, CTPs. In that, we have seen this acetyl-CoA also. What is this acetyl-CoA? This is a combination or a compound made up of acetyl moiety and CoASH enzyme, coenzyme A moiety. So basically, when this is broken, it will also yield a lot of energy. About 11 kilocalories of energy is generated. But apart from the provision of energy, this acetyl-CoA is very much significant with respect to two things. One, that it is a significant part of your tricarboxylic cycle, TCA cycle, and additionally, it is also significant with respect to fatty acid biosynthesis or lipid biosynthesis. So this phosphoketolase pathway will serve in producing this acetyl-CoA. The distinguishing feature of this phosphoketolase pathway will be this molecule only. If you compare this pathway with rest 3 pathways, acetyl-CoA is not synthesized in EMP, HMP, or your ED pathway. It is only synthesized through this phosphoketolase pathway only. Okay. Now, the next most important thing, how do we get the sugar molecules for carrying out all these 4 pathways? Because if you see all the 4 pathways, the substrate, the entry level molecule is glucose only. Okay. Now, is it possible that whatever the diet the organism gets, every time it will be getting glucose from the diet? When we prepare a cultivation medium in the laboratory, if you remember that every time we add some amount of glucose to the medium, okay, now that thing we are preparing artificially, synthetic media is there, so we can add up the glucose molecule. But when our organism is living in the natural environment, it is not necessary that every time it will be getting glucose. There are many polysaccharides spread in the environment. There are compounds like your starch, there are compounds like your sucrose, like glycogen, the cellulose, cellubiose, lignin, etc., etc. Now, ultimately, you will see that all these polysaccharides, like your starch, cellulose, cellubiose, or your lignin, these are actually the polymers of monosaccharides. So ultimately, what happens whenever organism gets a sugar, a polysaccharide, it first breaks down that polysaccharide to glucose molecule. As you could see here, almost all these molecules, cellulobiose, galactose, mannose, starch, this sucrose, they are being converted to glucose only. And glucose is the entry level molecule for all the pathways. And one more molecule apart from glucose, there is fructose. This fructose may also directly enter into any pathway. Now, why this is so that glucose and fructose both can enter into any pathway? Because glucose and fructose both are the isomers of each other. If you see the chemical formulae of this glucose and fructose, both are C6H12O6. Just there is a structural difference between glucose and fructose. So both can enter into any of those four pathways. So they will be obtained through breaking down these polysaccharides. Starch, sucrose, glycogen, or cellulobiose may result, or galactose even, may result in formation of glucose molecule, whereas if organism gets mannose and fructose, they will obtain fructose 6 phosphate. And eventually, both glucose phosphate and fructose phosphate, they can enter the EMP pathway or HMP or ED or phosphoketolase pathway. Okay, these molecules can directly enter in those pathways. Now, if you take an overall look, if you remember in your previous lectures, we have said that when one glucose molecule enters in the cell, it provides almost 38 molecules of ATP. Now, whatever the pathways we have seen up till now, a brief overview, what we have observed that 38 ATPs are not being generated during that. In HMP, EMP pathway, you are getting about 6 molecules of ATP or 2 molecules of ATP directly. In your HMP pathway, you are getting only 1 molecule of ATP in ED, and in your phosphoketolase also lesser number of ATPs are there. Then from where does these 38 ATP molecules come? So as we have said, the entire aerobic respiration is composed of glycolysis, Krebs cycle, and electron transport chain. So during glycolysis, 2 molecules of ATP are generated, 2 NADH2s are formed. After glycolysis, the resultant product, pyruvic acid, enters the TCA cycle or Krebs cycle. Now, during this Krebs cycle, there will be direct generation of another 2 molecules of ATP. Okay, and there will be generation of almost 8 molecules of NADH and 2 molecules of FADH. Okay, so overall, glycolysis and this Krebs cycle generates 10 molecules of NADH2s and 2 molecules of FADH2s. These molecules, if they are not utilized in biosynthesis, they enter the electron transport chain. There is a set of reaction. Now, after going through the electron transport chain, the these NADH2s and FADH2s, they result in generation of about 34 molecules of ATPs. So basically, 2 molecules of ATP during glycolysis, 2 during the TCA cycle or Krebs cycle, and 34 through your respiratory electron transport chain. 34 plus 2, 36 plus 2, 38 molecules of ATP are being generated, and the glucose molecule is completely exhausted and is converted to carbon dioxide and water. Now, how is it converted to carbon dioxide and water? You will see that when this pyruvic acid enters your TCA cycle, 2 carbon dioxides are released. During this Krebs cycle, 4 carbon dioxide are released, and when these NADH2s and FADH2s they enter the RETC, they result in release of 6 molecules of water. So basically, when we write down the glycolysis, what we say C6H12O6, that is glucose enters glycolysis or aerobic respiration and results in a release of 6 molecules of carbon dioxide here and 6 molecules of water. C6H12O6 is converted to 6CO2 plus 6H2O plus 38 molecules of ATP. Okay, so this is how this entire glucose molecule is going to be catabolized. First, it will enter one of the pathways of glycolysis, then the resulting pyruvic acid will enter the Krebs cycle, then the resulting NADH2s and FADH2s will go through this RETC, and ATPs will be generated, and glucose will be completely broken down, and carbon dioxide will be released, and water is formed from the glucose. Okay, so this is how the glucose molecule is completely exhausted by the cell through aerobic respiration. One thing we must remember, that we are talking about aerobic respiration only. Okay, means this will be occurring only in the aerobic organisms. Okay, this set of reactions will not be occurring in anaerobic organisms. Okay, anaerobes follow different sets of pathways, different patterns of metabolism are there. That thing we'll be seeing later. So now we have taken a brief overlook of all the pathways. अभी हमने क्या किया that